Wow. From over here, from there, it actually looks like it's flat.
Flat, I know. Right, you see, when it picks up light, it'll reflect on each side.
Ellsworth Kelly is a foundational artist for Glenstone. If part of what the mission is to tell the story of modern and contemporary art history after World War II, Ellsworth Kelly is a really important figure in that story.
Kelly was one of the first artists that we collected in depth from the whole range of his career. We wanted to understand him as an artist by seeing the entire arc of his work.
In this exhibition, I mean, we have every sort of facet of his practice. We have really large-scale works, bursts of color that float and vibrate on the wall, joined panel paintings, sculptures, both indoor and outdoor. And we have these small, intimate, early paintings where you could imagine him working on these pieces in his studio.
He said that his art was meant to get at the rapture of seeing. It's an attempt at trying to bottle those moments of joy because it's a fundamental experience. We can all, if we're lucky enough to be sighted, understand what it means to behold something visually that is really beautiful.
This piece, he said, is the piece that changed the course of all of his work. It's a recreation of the windows in the Museum of Modern Art in Paris. He made it in 1949. Before that, he was a pretty traditional figurative painter, but he was experimenting a lot in Paris, taking this thing from the real world, sort of making it abstract, breaking it down into these very elementary shapes and colors. And you can see him returning to this same idea for the next 70 years.
For me, I mean, the joy is like digging in the stacks and finding these works that were pivotal but maybe aren't quite as publicly known. For example, his photography. It hasn't really been shown that widely, but for me is a really kind of important window into how the artist saw the world. You can see a lot of the imagery in his photos, like these shadows that might call back to paintings in the exhibition. I always loved this photo, and I thought maybe it inspired him to make these curved paintings, but he actually took this photo after he was making all the curved paintings because he said that it validated his paintings, that he was making these curves and then he would see them in nature.
My personal engagement with Kelly goes back quite far. He was always looking, always noticing, like a child, you know? Like, look at that, look at this. I love what you're wearing. What kind of blue is that? Is it Prussian blue? Is it ultramarine? Well, this was his temperament, this was his personality up until the very end. He never lost that childlike wonder.
It all is rooted in very simple observation. He would say that he wasn't generating the content, that it was all there, and he was just documenting it.
It's a practice of stopping and noticing. He gives us permission to derive joy from that process.
Which is something that I find myself doing now when I walk around Glenstone. Once you start thinking about Ellsworth Kelly's work, you're more tuned into these subtleties, these details, whether it's a tree or a corner of a building or a doorway. These are all things that I think really come to the surface at a place like Glenstone.